So there's tons of theology packed into St. Luke's account of the presentation today, and unfortunately I can't do it all because I don't have 3 hours, but that'd be fun. But I'd like to, before we get into that, go back to, in your minds, Friday afternoon, Friday night, about circa 1999. It's pizza night at home. Before we get the pizza, we're going to go to Blockbuster, and we're going to pick out a VHS to watch as a family. There's aisles and aisles and aisles of all these little plastic cards that you would take up, and then you give it, and then they would give you the VHS. There's so much planning, there's so much choices to be made. So once we finally agree on a movie as a family, we whittle it down to one. We go. I'm sitting in the car with the pizza, hot pizza on my lap, and the VHS. We're ready to watch it. But there's sometimes a little feeling that says, I don't know if we picked the right one. I don't know if I want. But it's going to be fine. We paid 79 cents for it. Let's just continue on for the evening and have a great movie pizza night as a family. So there is choice, there's commitment, and then there's fulfillment. All these things come with making any sort of choice. And the choice that I see laid out before us in this gospel is all of the vocations that we have before us. Vocations. A vocation is not that thing that I think we all really want right now. A vocation, not a vacation, is what, in the eyes of the church, the different lifestyles that we can have as people. There are 4 of them, in no particular order: priesthood, holy matrimony, religious life, and dedicated single life. Priesthood, religious life, matrimony, and dedicated single life. These are all of the vocations. Every one of us fits into one of those, and it's a fun game to play. If you look at any saint, study their life, study their story, they will all fit into one of these. I guarantee it. These vocations are laid out for us. They're not like our jobs, not like being a farmer, a veterinarian, or a gymnastics teacher. It's all, the vocation is how we serve the kingdom, and our career is what we do inside of that. So, in the gospel story today, we have Simeon, the old man who has been promised by God that he will not die until he meets the Christ. It says that he was righteous and devout, awaiting the consolation of Israel. Simeon was awaiting the consolation of Israel, which means the coming of the Messiah and the fulfillment of all of God's promises. What that means for us today is the consolation of Israel. We are Israel, we are God's people, and we are waiting to be consoled and to finally reach heaven and to finally spend eternity together as a community. Mary and Joseph represent matrimony in this story. They come forward giving their child, presenting their child to God. And I think one of the most poetic and prophetic words in the Gospels, you yourself a sword will pierce. He says this to the Blessed Mother. And this is to symbolize and prophesize how she will be watching her son be torn apart, be misled, be misconstrued, be abused, and ultimately killed. But it also, I think, goes with every mother, every father. I'm new to spiritual parenthood, but I know the feeling and the weight that goes with having your child be given back to God in whatever life has in store. Dedicated single life and religious life. Anna, the prophetess, is always in the temple. She's a widow, and after her husband died of many years, she spends all her time praying and worshiping and giving thanks. There are many religious orders all across the United States and the world, nuns, sisters, monks, brothers, and they all are the spiritual powerhouses and the power plants of our world. We work to farm and feed the world. They work to pray and provide for the world in spiritual ways. So, we are all, as Christians, called to decide what to do with our lives, what job, what career, but we are also called to discern what vocation to take. And it's frightening. Not as frightening, but it's exciting, like walking down the aisles of that Blockbuster. There's so many choices, there's so many things to do. I want to make the right choice, but I wanted to make like 3 choices at the same time. Can we just watch 3 movies? Let's do that. No, we have to pick one. There's only time for one movie and pizza before bedtime. We only get one. And so, same thing with our life. We love to keep our options open. We love to go forward and not be able to have settled down completely. But I find when I had all my options open in college before I decided to be a priest, I was still restless. I was not truly happy until I finally committed to being a priest, to studying, and to finally becoming one. I think there's great freedom when our commitment is made, a sacrament is celebrated, and we are fully in. And all other doors aren't just closed, they just don't exist anymore. We are called as Christians to follow and discern and lean into our vocation for the sake of the kingdom. Jesus Christ himself displays all of the vocations. As a priest, he's devoutly sacrificing his life for the sake of Israel. He's the bridegroom. He is the husband of us, the bride of Christ, the church. He is pierced through the heart. His body is pierced so that all our hearts can be opened. In religious life and being a dedicated single life, he spends his celibate life ministering and helping, curing and preaching and teaching for the good of the kingdom of heaven. All of these are for the greater glory of God and for us that we can get as many people into heaven as possible. So if you have made your decision, if you are in a vocation, whether it be married or priesthood or whatever it may be, lean into it, double down on the freedom that comes with being committed. If you have not made a choice yet or have not been committed yet, you are invited to the great aisles of the Blockbuster, but to really discern and ask for God what he has in store for you, what he has planned for your happiness and fulfillment. And then, whether we are in the midst of decision making or whether we are being strengthened in our own decision we made years ago, we still come to the altar and present ourselves just as Jesus was presented in the temple. We present ourselves to Jesus and say, "Here I am, Lord. I'm totally yours. Do with me what you will." Whether that is marriage, priesthood, religious life, motherhood. He can bring about our true happiness and bring about the salvation of so many others when we present ourselves to him in total trust and abandonment. Let's continue to pray for ourselves and for those who are discerning, and that we can continue to live out our vocations as best we can. Amen.